YAG.com, the news website. What does YAG mean?
YAG means gay, just written backwards.
But written backwards, okay. Also with us, Judith Hamry, who teaches English at the American section of the Lycée International in Saint-Germain-en-Laye in the suburbs of Paris, and Sunday Telegraph columnist Anne-Elisabeth Moutet. Jean Duchesne was alluding to it in part one of our discussion. Socialists in this country remember well the last time they tried to reform the status of private schools. The year was 1984. More than 1 million opponents of a bill at the time marched. The law was scrapped, and should add that both the socialist prime minister and his education minister were chased from office in a cabinet reshuffle that followed. We were saying it in part one of our discussion, Anne-Elisabeth Moutet, how the issue of public versus private schools, is it something, even though there was that compromise you mentioned that gives the country its current status, there's something deeper, though, to all of this that sort of runs back, you could say, all the way to the French Revolution.
Yes. I mean, the French Revolution basically broke the system of three usually unequal estates, the people, the church, and the nobility. And the church spent most of the 19th century sort of either back in power and getting revenge, to be a bit provocative about this, and was in any way a political force in opposition or in government until 1905, when the French Republic decided the complete separation of church and state, which the revolution actually had not declared. And that created the very unique French system of secularism, which the French by and large all like. And secularism, as one recent taxi driver I had who was a Muslim said, I like secularism. It means that everybody is allowed to practice their own religion privately, and we all have something in common. And he was summing that up very well. So the integration of the private school system within the public school system, with the same classes, the same program, and at the same time different denominations, is something that has sort of evolved organically in France over the past half century, and it's something that the French feel very deeply about. We have what the British would call the postcode lottery. You have to obey what is called the map of schools. It's been sort of a bit sort of softened under Sarkozy. People call back to this being strengthened again, but what it means in effect is you go to the local schools according to where you live, and there are ways of going around this, but they're not so easy. And lots of parents, for all sorts of reasons, and usually they are the good reasons of good parents, say, my kid is not happy in this place, I need to put my kid somewhere else. Or my kid has got this or that, or, they're parents and they love their kids. And they want them to go in a different place, and there's an array of private schools which are affordable, which are possible for them, depending on private or religious or whatever reasons. They have this choice, and the French used to like
and
this.
The trade-off being, as we were saying in part one, that the government has a look into the curriculum
and the hiring of the teachers and the way they're managed.
Jean Duchesne, there's an article in the French broadsheet of record Le Monde this Monday evening, which says that the Catholic Church in France thinks that there should be a bit more religion inside of Catholic schools, and that some of them need to maybe increase how much instruction. You're mentioning it's optional, but that there should be more of an emphasis on it.
This is not new. I mean, I remember I already was with Jean-Marie Lustiger at the time of the demonstrations of the 1980s, and I would simply recall that the title and the motto of his speech at Versailles was "Catholic school, try to be more Catholic, try to deserve your name," and because this is really a problem. The Church is aware of rendering a service by offering the possibility of a choice to parents. But it is very difficult to coordinate or to associate this with, I would say, evangelization, catechesis, and all this. This is a problem. The Church has a real problem, especially with. So this is also very important for the Church. For example, it is the change in the weekly schedules, which means that no time will be left during the week
to go to catechism.
To go to catechism. This is a problem. The Church is simply fighting or asking, and this is a very important stake, simply to have the possibility to teach the faith to the children whose parents want them to be taught.
Judith Hamry, what's your experience as far as that when it comes to the separation of church and state as the outsider looking in on France here?
Oh, I admire the separation, of course. I think it's wonderful.
There's a lot of religious holidays in this country.
Yes, there are, and I never quite understood that, how that operated. But apparently it pleases many people.
It's a good way to operate. Please many people.
My first experience was when I realized that I was asked to liberate a classroom. I was working in a French lycée in Singapore, and I was teaching English and was asked to give up a classroom at 1 hour of my day because they needed it to teach catechism. And I went to the director and I said, I thought there was separation of church and state. So I'm afraid that was my brush with it, my first brush with it. But no, I think it's an admirable system. I think it apparently works very well for the majority of people.
But religion is going to be front and center next Sunday. There's that big demonstration in Paris against the same-sex marriage bill, and the French right calling unequivocally to join the demonstrations. Aides to the conservative leader Jean-François Copé say he's called for, quote, vigorous support for Sunday's demonstration. His rival for the leadership of the UMP party, François Fillon, more circumspect, saying he'll probably send a message of support, but stay away from the big march in Paris. Judith Silberfeld, how's that going to play out, the politics of that big march next Sunday?
I think there's just no mystery. I mean, it's a very... The right is looking for a topic to unite everybody, everybody on the right, against the government. That's a very easy subject for them. It's just, they don't even have to organize a demonstration. There's one organized for them. They just have to go, or not go, but say they support the people who are going, which is the same, actually. And that's it. I mean, everybody who's going there... So
there's going to be a demonstration, then the law is going to pass, and that's it?
Well, I hope so. That's what happened in '99 with the PACs. They had this big demonstration, which was
the civil unions.
Yeah, which was awful for us, because that's the thing people don't understand. The ones who are going to that kind of demonstrations, they don't understand that it's not just a big game. It's about people. It's about lives. It's about families. It's about children. I mean, I have a child. She's 11. When she sees these people demonstrating against her parents, she just doesn't feel happy about it. It's just, and sometimes I just don't know why so many people are against same-sex marriage. It has absolutely no impact on their lives. It has impacts on my life, on my child's life, not on yours. I mean,
will you be marching, Jean Duchesne?
I think so. I plan to. Actually, the problem, is that this is clearly a very divisive issue. What we said, and the opponents said that they didn't bring it up. And my personal feeling is that there has been no real debate so far. Because on the one hand, people say gay marriage never. Mm-hmm. If people are frustrated and unhappy, and we don't want to know about it, we don't want to hear about it. And then on the other, and then because, the problem is whether if we be to be able to start talking, because the supporters of what is called gay marriage or same-sex unions, they tend to say it's just a matter of justice, equality, or just simply of relieving actual suffering. And their opponents say, well, we are not against this. But the problem is whether it is exactly the same marriage, whether it means exactly the same thing, whether are we clear on what the word marriage means.
And what does it mean to you?
Well, it means, of course, the union of a man and woman, but this is also linked to the foundation of a family, to a certain relationship with children, who, as we can see, naturally have a father and a mother, and this is going to raise a very high number of questions. Now, when we are told that this is the next irresistible step on the road to progress, then the question is, my God, what is the next step after this? Is this the last one? What is going to come next? And then there is also another problem. It is the fact
when
that,
you say what's the one after
I don't disagree with I don't agree. I'm sorry with Jude when he said that the French voted for it because they elected François Hollande. Well, I think it was first of all. did a majority of the people who voted for Hollande, and it was a narrow majority, narrow plurality, did they deliberately vote for this?
That doesn't matter, they voted. He was elected.
This is the problem. If it had been the case, there would be no debate. It is clear that this is striking a very sensitive chord, and that people think that it's not just politics. It is, and they feel that they're what they believe in, the way they have lived so far, what they want to transmit to their children is being threatened because they feel that marriage as they know it, as they want it to be, as they are trying to experience and to live it, this will not be the same thing anymore. So that is why I think it is not political. I know a lot of people who are not especially, I mean, you've got even people on the left who don't agree. Yeah. I mean, it is in the same way, you see, in Britain, for example, who is against gay marriage? It's Labour more than the Tories. It's a Tory thing. And the Church of England, which cannot be accused of being homophobic, the Church of England also is against gay marriage. It is a very difficult issue. And it is, I think it is not just political. It would deserve a better debate. And I think it's something that takes time and that requires time.
Judith Silberfeld.
Yeah, I'd like to answer on 2 points. We've been having this debate for at least 25 years. We had it about, we're always talking about it. I mean, watch TV, read the newspapers, the debate is everywhere. It's not because someone is not asked what they think that there's no debate. Everybody is talking about it. Everybody, during Christmas dinner, all the families talked about it. I mean, it's just, we have to stop asking for a debate. We are in the debate. I'm talking to you, you're talking to me. We're in a debate. It's all the time on TV, all the time on the radio, all the time in the medias. So that's the first thing.
We're just saying that we're having a debate. You see,
we are
I am trying to give arguments. You give arguments, I give arguments. We don't answer each other's arguments.
Of course, but we knew when we came that we wouldn't agree. We're here to, state our opinion, but we're not here to agree. But the people who are watching might agree with you or with me. That's the debate. And the other thing is, I agree with your definition of what marriage is, apart from that part with being between a man and a woman. Marriage is to create a family. I mean, that's what I've been doing. I have a child, I have a couple. I've been in the same relationship for 18 years now. I mean, the only thing that's missing is marriage. And I'm not even sure I want to get married, actually. But if I did, I just don't see why. What the difference is between a couple made of a man and a woman and 2 women or 2 men. I understand the biology thing. I didn't have my child made between me and my girlfriend. I mean, I'm not stupid, and my child knows she wasn't made by 2 women. I mean, that's just a crazy idea that people are trying to think that children are stupid and they're going to believe that. And no parent I know is going to say to their child, you've been born from 2 women. I mean, that's just absurd. That's crazy.
No, the question is whether it is the same thing or not.
Ask the children. Ask the children. They exist. Ask them. And different. That's apartheid.
That's
segregation.
That's the problem. So the problem is whether you stress the equality or the difference.
Separate but equal.
You cannot help. You cannot prevent people from being most sensitive to the difference, and also for being worried about the children.
Okay, ask the children. They exist.
I would like to say that I think that to give people a right is not to legislate morality. I think that's an essential point. And legislating morality is imposing all sorts of limits on people, and you're speaking for freedom, so I don't understand how those two go hand in hand. Those two views of wanting to give people the freedom of choice, for instance, with schools and so forth, and on the other hand, thinking that it's all right to say to a portion of the population, you may not do this thing which all others may do.
It is that there is a confusion, there is a regrettable ambiguity. If you call what you are doing, what we consider is something else.
But why should one person, one group, have
case,
the right
in this case, the problem,
define something?
The problem is not freedom. The problem is truth.
Or semantics.
Or semantics.
Yeah.
If you argue about who puts out the garbage, it sure sounds like marriage. In the U.S., I just want to get your reaction to this. In the U.S., same-sex marriage continues to make headway. New York State approving the bill back in 2011. Lots of others have done since. In fact, 3 states voting yes by referendum for the first time in November. But there's still opposition in some quarters. Time seems to have run out in the outgoing Illinois state legislature to approve a gay marriage bill before it hands over to the next one. And that's prompted the Chicago Tribune in an editorial to write, "We fully understand and respect the Cardinal's view that same-sex marriage violates natural law, but nothing in this bill affects the Church's authority to define what is right for Catholics. It recognizes the difference between religious rights and civil institutions." Your thoughts on that, Jean Duchesne?
No, I mean, I have nothing to add to the. This is what the Colonel George.
This is what the Chicago Tribune is saying in an editorial. That.
I mean, I think.
Which brings back to the question of, is it just semantics, and why not just call it marriage? What is already exists, the law that says civil unions are okay.
Well, you see, the point is, or we must acknowledge that a lot of people are deeply disturbed by this new legislation. So are they just stupid? Are they just backward? Are they just retarded? What motivates them? This is the question.
2 final points on this. In France, 3 weeks ago, a poll found that 60% were for same-sex marriage. Compared with the United States, it's 73%, so it does lag behind the United States. France also more reticent than many of its neighbors, including Spain and Portugal. If you see a map compiled by the Pew Research Center, we see that same-sex marriage has been approved. It's a bit fuzzy there, the map. Same-sex marriage approved in all those countries already, including 2 of the neighbors to the south, which are staunchly Catholic, and Elisabeth Moutet.
Yes, I think it's a very different thing in Spain and Portugal, because Spain and Portugal basically went through the kind of upheaval that the rest of the Western world went through in the 60s. This only happened in the 80s in Spain and Portugal. Portugal 70s, the revolution of 74, and in Spain the movida in effect happens after the King of Spain sort of stops the post-Franquist putschists to take power in 81. So what you've got is a sort of very different and delayed reaction of people who are sort of all together in fostering much more social freedom than they had hitherto known, and they'd taken the lid of years that were sort of pretty conformist for almost half a century in both cases. So, I would imagine that the gay marriage is seen as a sort of organic following of the movida. You don't just have gay marriage that happened faster. The legalization of smoking pot, for instance, whatever you think about it, it's something that created almost no problems.
So France,
in Spain.
a little bit more prisoner of its history. We're going to have to, unfortunately, leave it there. But I want to thank you, Elisabeth Moutet. I want to thank as well Judith Silberfeld for joining us, Jean Duchesne and Judith Hammery for being with us, and thank you for joining us here in the France 24 debate.